and I'm particularly interested because I reached a point where it's like I gotta just not look at negative stuff.
They're coming for you?
I mean, I don't know if they're coming for me, but
what do they say?
They criticize me for having promoted my merchandise too much. That I'm always trying to sell something. That like what else? I had a little run, a press run of like where there were some unfortunate interviews that I did. Like
I didn't see those.
And the more people you reach, then the more hate there is.
Yeah.
And the hate that you see is like all that you like really like are affected by. I mean, for me, I'm just a sensitive guy.
But is this like people hating on you, like criticism new just because of YouTube? Like when you were in the movies before YouTube even happened, like you never had haters, right? They just saw you on MTV. They couldn't comment. Like,
yeah.
I mean, this is all just YouTube shit.
Yeah.
And plus they say horrible shit. Like, oh, Scott's the worst co-host in the world. I'm like, who said that? And then it's like his name is with no profile and it's ZZXX4. It's like, it's not even your name. You're not even like real to me. I want to find the IP address of these people and then just like have a seat. You said this to me on this. Like you would never say that to me in person.
Is it safe to say that you haven't made it until you've got like highly produced like YouTube hit piece videos made about you?
Yeah, that's the move, man. It sucks. It sucks. Those videos suck. I mean,
so for the past 9 months, Steve-O has been getting a lot of hate and a lot of criticism, mainly coming from the podcast and the comedy audience because of the way that he approached his promotion of his multimedia comedy special, The Bucket List. Because back then, when he did that massive press tour, the whole goal was to try and appear on as many different podcasts as possible, regardless of what the podcast was about or who the host was. And the whole goal, again, was to plug the special. And so because of that, at some point, it got so bad that towards the end of that press tour, he had some questionable podcast appearances, which was essentially him not being able to fake the fact that he didn't want to be there, but he had to just to promote the special. And, that was back then. But most recently, it does seem like Steve-O started going down this weird path on his own show, very similar to what Brendan Schaub went through, or at some point, what Tom Segura went through as well. Because for the past 4 episodes or for the past month, it seems like Steve-O is obsessed with the conversation about haters and the hate and brings it up with every single guest, and the conversation always ends up being about himself.
So it's a slippery slope. I look at it with, you gotta greet everyone with love, even the people that hate you. You gotta just go, they're just doing them. They're doing them. It's the same thing we say about negativity not being real. They don't think you're ever gonna see it. And the weird part about giving a cat milk is the cat comes back. So when you go to Too Lazy to Try and you give them the milk, then they go, this is now a business model. Mm-hmm. If I make more fun of him and it's good, he'll share it and I'll get more views. You can't fault that guy or girl for doing that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I can also say that guy, like if he's trying to bash me, like
this would have been open season,
Yeah, I love that, and I just want everyone to watch it, man. Especially for people who are questioning, oh man, this tits thing is not even funny or whatever. Like I need those people to go to steveo.com and watch. It's free. Just click play and it just starts playing.
When you're with your friends, you can talk really brutally and over the top about other acquaintances or even other friends. You speak very harshly about them in the company of somebody else that you would never say to them and you would never want them to hear because it would harm them and you don't want that.
Right.
So these internet conversations are people having that type of conversation. You're not in the room with them. They don't see you in the room with them. So they have kind of this, it's kind of like say whatever you want as brutally as you want because they don't see you as in the room. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Well, I know.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean because, like, say if these people were to encounter me in person,
Yeah.
they would never say
Never.
this to me.
Everyone is always like as sweet as possible when I meet them in person.
And I thought it was a little bit strange coming from Steve-O, but different people have different ways of dealing with the negative feedback and the online hate. For example, there is a Logan Paul approach, which is to pretty much pretend like you're actually learning and trying to become a better person and changing with the audience. And even if that's not true, it's very effective and it works very, very well. And then there is a Brendan Schaub strategy, which is to essentially declare war on every single person that makes fun of you and criticizes you, and then pretend like it never happened. And it seems like Steve-O is doing a mix of both because, on the one hand, he is addressing the hate and he is talking about some of the comments, the negative comments on the show, but on the other, he's calling out YouTube channels like Too Lazy to Try, saying fuck him for trying to bash him, which is fair. He can say whatever he wants. But I always think it's very interesting and odd how comedians and podcasters at the level of Steve-O, whenever they get criticized, they completely forget about comedy and turn into the most serious person ever. And their responses are just, plain boring and uncreative. And also the new narrative that Steve-O is very sensitive and that he's just trying to be a good person, it's a little bit inconsistent from how he was acting last year. And sure, you could argue that he has changed from how he was last year, but it is convenient, and it almost seems like he changed, not because he thought it was the right move and the right choice, but instead because he was called out and was pressured to, which, it's no big deal, but it comes across as being a little bit fake because, for example, just a year and a half ago, back when it was cool and almost encouraged to make fun of and trash Brendan Schaub, Steve-O was one of the few podcasters who would actually bring up the negative things that was happening to Brendan Schaub. And at some point, he did say himself that he was fascinated with Brendan Schaub's self-sabotage or destruction. And now that he has made some mistakes and some of his fans or listeners are not all that happy, now he doesn't understand it and calls it hate. So in this video, we'll go through the entire timeline of Steve-O slowly damaging his own reputation as a podcaster and how he is now dealing with the backlash and the haters.
I have December off except for Arlington, Dallas in the middle of December.
You mean the Arlington where Gringo Poppy was filmed?
Wait, is that where that was filmed?
Is it?
The Dallas Improv, Arlington?
I think so, yeah.
That's where Gringo Poppy was filmed.
Oh, no.
Dude, tough act to follow.
Pressure's on.
Oh, man. How do you know that? How do you know that was filmed there?
I was fascinated by the entire I even know where the construction paper came from.
Oh my god.
I even know who cut it out.
Oh, my God. That's so funny. Yeah, we all are. We're all very fascinated about it.
It was fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, I'm particularly close to that because of the known for other things coming into stand-up, like first special on Showtime, and then like putting out the second special on your own.
35 minutes.
25.
Was it really?
It was 25.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's like death by 1,000 self-inflicted paper cuts or something like that.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah, you have a way better name than than Brendan Schaub's whiskey.
What's his called?
It's like a Tiger Thick
Oh, Jesus.
or something like that?
I see. He loves thick. Yeah, we're just Bodega Cat. We're trying to keep it a New York vibe.
And once again, this exact same thing happened with Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, and obviously Brendan Schaub at a much, higher level. So it's not that complicated of a situation. And in fact, it's way more simple than something like what Brendan Schaub went through. Now, that should definitely be a case study for some business class because that's a whole different level of self-destruction. And also, even though Steve-O isn't technically a Rogan Sphere comedian, he has been reaping the benefits of an extremely nice and welcoming comedy culture culture, which was started by Joe Rogan after he took down Carlos Mencia. Obviously, that allowed a lot of people to have massively successful careers in comedy and podcasting and all that. Now, when it comes to Steve-O, obviously, he's nowhere near Brendan Schaub levels, but it is interesting how he's not able to take even the lightest of criticism and gets upset by it.
It's really tragic, like how sensitive I can be.
We all can be so sensitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Steve will drop a heart when you ask him a question. He won't even answer it.
Love that. Yeah. That's a meaningless heart at that point.
No. If it's a question, presumably a yes or no question, then the heart means
No.
yes.
You guys can confirm. We'll ask you like, hey, either option A or option B, and you're just like heart.
Thumbs up.
Oh, that's an empty heart.
Yeah,
You're
it's an
just
empty
dropping
heart.
hearts on anything.
Yeah. Well.
Damn.
Yeah. So
You should block him.
So you.
But we made up.
We did.
And
We did.
Yeah.
You identify as being sensitive,
Yeah.
but you are embroiled in conflict all of the time.
I think personally I'm sensitive to like how the people around me feel about me, or but when it comes to talking to people on the internet that I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't care what they think. You know what I mean?
How do you do with like just negativity on the internet in general? Do you try to avoid looking at it?
So, yes, there comes a point where I feel like in every creator's life cycle where you're like, when you start, you're like, comments, everyone's so supportive and it's so fun and I love the comments. And then as you get more popular, you pick up more detractors.
When you see negative stuff, when I see negative stuff, then I just kind of like, I don't know, I just find myself buying into it and deciding that like I'm not likable. And
Here's one thing. No, you're not, dude. Everyone feels that.
I've taken the position that like when there's criticism of me with which I agree, that like it really affects me more and it inspires me to want to bring about like constructive change.
Well, that's good because at the end of the day, though, like amongst all the negativity, it's a shame because there is usually genuinely good, constructive points.
And look, to be fair, Steve-O doesn't seem like a bad person based on what I've seen. I mean, he's simply just trying to entertain people. Now, maybe you could argue that similar to Bert Kreischer, he is also addicted to the attention. However, even if that was the case, when it comes to someone like Steve-O, I don't really see that as a big negative because that has been pretty much his brand from the start, from the Jackass days and even now. And also, if you compare him to someone like Bert Kreischer, who has the entire Rogan sphere backing him up, he does have to try a lot harder and do a lot of crazier stuff just to get a fraction of the audience or the attention that someone like Bert Kreischer has. And so because of that, I don't really mind if he has to go out of his way to do some insane stuff just to get people talking about him and get more attention. And so the criticism is mainly about his behavior recently on his own podcast and also his response and his approach to the negative feedback or the haters, which in my opinion has been really bad.
Already, because now TMZ has run the story about it happening. First couple like mentions in my mention feed to come through like, oh dude, wild, I love it. And then like it starts coming in like, but why? Like the haters start hating. And that's just like I gotta just
it was definitely aggressive.
It's aggressive. And it's time for me to A, stop caring what people think. And B.
Oh, now it's time.
I'm a sensitive guy. I gotta not be cis. I gotta be not cis.
I don't think it's that aggressive. I kind of wish it was bigger.
And by the way, we could have just focused on Bert Kreischer. I feel like it would have been a lot easier. However, to be fair, when it comes to respecting the art form, as cringe as that sounds, I do believe that Bert Kreischer is actually honest about enjoying what he does and respecting stand-up comedy or whatever. Even though, yes, at some point he wanted to be a TV star or still wants to be in Hollywood, I do think that he does what he does because he likes it and not just because he is grifting and doing whatever gets him more views. For example, I don't think I've ever seen him half-ass a podcast podcast appearance or anything that he's done. He actually puts a lot of effort into it. Now, whether that thing is funny or not, that's a whole different conversation. And also, if you compare Steve-O's podcast with Bert Kreischer's podcast, you can tell that, you know, with Bert Kreischer, it does seem like he's inviting people that he finds interesting or that he wants to have a conversation with, and not just driven by views. Whereas with Steve-O, you know, it does seem like he's just inviting people on that he believes will give him the most amount of views. However, when it comes to Steve-O, sometimes it does feel like if he only cares about people that are already famous or have a large audience. For example, if you take a look at his podcast, for the most part, all of the guests are already pretty big. And also, it is very interesting that his questionable podcast appearances, they all happened on the smaller shows and not really on the massive podcast that he did, like Joe Rogan's podcast. It happened with the Danny Brown show and the Adam Friedland show.
Any interview, any press that stands the possibility of selling a ticket, my answer is automatically yes. You know, like, no trouble getting me to do press, like, never late. You know, I just like.
Do you like doing podcasts?
I do.
Do you feel it is press, it's entertainment, it's both, it's obligation?
It's funny. I coded in my calendar as press and the same color as airplanes. So like kind of, and gray, meaning like.
An obligation.
Necessary evil.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But like almost invariably I'm going to enjoy it. And like, you know, reaching a new audience is wow, what an opportunity, you know. Here, like, I get to you know, share, like, and what a great approach you have, you know. So I don't feel any obligation here. Plus, probably, I don't know what your average running time is, but I'm not in any rush to get anywhere. What I'm trying to describe, kind of the why of the stand-up. Initially, it wasn't because, like, wow, there's so much money in it. I didn't even know there was so much money.
Yeah.
I never thought that it was going to be like a big revenue stream.
Is it now making you more money than Jackass, I guess?
Oh my God, like exponentially.
And once again, because Steve-O did have a massive podcast tour promoting his multimedia comedy special, towards the end, and more specifically with the smaller shows, he did have a couple of questionable appearances, which, again, it was mainly him making it very clear that he wasn't that happy being there and that he was just there to promote his comedy special. I mean, he even told Rick Glassman that he didn't see the podcast as having a fun conversation, and instead he just saw it as work that he had to do for press. And now, 9 months later, instead of being honest about what happened, he's trying to paint the narrative that those questionable podcast appearances were just him simply not being the best comedian or knowing what the deal was and not getting the jokes.
How bad was it?
It was a terrible fail on my part.
What? You didn't do bad at all.
I did terribly. That was the feedback.
Oh, you felt like you did bad, not like we were horrible.
I'm not criticizing you.
Oh, okay. No, that changed. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought that we were just being mean
No.
shit guys, and we are. But like you
but
are
you-
one of the
but-
few people we respect.
You were doing your thing.
I
and
don't
I
think it's
didn't get what your thing is.
Judaism.
I still don't
Judaism.
get what your thing is.
Judaism.
Okay, I don't get it.
So
And-
so God gave us the 10 commandments on Mount Sinai.
And your
What
whole
thing?
Your whole
What
whole
thing?
Yeah, your shtick.
What's my shtick? I'm just
What?
a f***ing obnoxious guy. What do you mean? Like,
But again, that was not the case. The truth is that he was treating those podcasts like morning radio, you know, something that he didn't want to do, but he had to for work. And the fact that he actually admitted to Rick Glassman that he saw podcasts as press and not really as a fun conversation with a friend, even if it's a lie, it's absolutely insane. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, that would be like him also admitting that he doesn't like stand-up comedy, but it's just a way to sell tickets using his name and his previous fame. And also, even though he did have a few questionable appearances, the main one, the biggest one that got him a lot of hate, or the most hate, was his appearance on the Adam Friedland show, which again, he's trying to make it seem like if he didn't get their humor and was getting trolled. But the truth is, even if you rewatch the episode, you'll notice that Steve-O wasn't having a good time. He didn't care about the show and was just there to plug his special and the thing that he was smoking the entire time. He was ripping on it hard. And by the way, if you made it this far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps out so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Do you like soda?
Orange vanilla. I don't like the soda, dude.
Yeah, me neither. But
flies
I'm not a
on
baby
me.
like Nick. I'm not a baby. It's
baby to like soda, dude.
whatever. F you.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. That was rude of me. Can you tell him I'm sorry about saying that thing?
He's not. This guy hates me.
Nah,
He doesn't
dude, I'm
hate
down
you.
with you
This
guys.
guy hates me because I'm friends with Vinny.
I'm down with you guys.
No, we're way more friends with Vinny though.
Are you guys
Steve-O.
gonna like hand the baton off to like a younger generation of people that want to hurt themselves?
I don't.
I went to elementary school with Rachel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Sick.
in Vegas.
Sick.
So are you checked out? Do you want to
dude,
go?
You're in love with Vinny. It's not.
Do you want to go? Are you done? Did you have a bad time? It's okay.
No,
you
no,
can
dude,
totally
I'm
say it.
not even gonna say I had a bad time.
But that means yes. You're just not going to say it. It's okay.
Wait,
you can
did
have a
we
bad time. Dude, this podcast sucks.
really
That's all right.
annoying
It's
guys.
not, yeah.
You do. You absolutely did not offend me.
I'm Steve-O, and this is
okay.
this is breaking up with Vinny Beetle.
No, we're not.
is taking
Offense,
my power
offense isn't
back.
the issue. It's just being bored.
No, I'm
Okay.
chilling. I'm good, man.
It's
and
okay.
my executive assistant Isaac gave me the heads up about how you clowns operate.
What did he say? He's
What
like,
did
hey,
he say, Isaac?
this sucks. And
He
they're
said,
not.
he said, hey, heads up,
That's all
dude.
Isaac said. Isaac was talking out of his ass about us.
He's like,
Isaac,
hey,
keep my name out of your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
he said, hey, I just want to give you the heads up. You know, these guys like, they'll probably come at you with some.
We're
like,
not coming
We're
at
not coming
you.
at
He
you.
said they might. He said they might come at me.
Why do you fucking
with,
say this?
With some
Why would you,
retrieve.
Steve-O? You're a beloved cultural
Oh,
figure.
thanks.
You
No,
changed
we-
my life.
I love it. I love that.
We
Thank
love you. I don't know why.
slammed-
Now, I did rewatch Steve-O's appearance on the Adam Friedland show, and again, it was very clear to me that it was Steve-O, the one that was being rude, and not the other way around. And I think the reason why this happened, and Adam also mentioned this on the podcast with Steve-O, but I think it was because well, first of all, someone in Steve-O's team told him that he could potentially get trolled, so he already had that in the back of his head. But also, I think there is a chance that he was expecting to be on the Adam Friedland show, the one that is more of an interview style show with Adam dressing up and having actual questions. And when he saw that he was on the podcast with both of them dressed normal and messing around, he probably thought that he was getting trolled. And so because of that, he took on this personality or this attitude of someone that didn't want to be there or didn't care at all, maybe to protect himself from getting trolled, but it ended up backfiring. So again, it wasn't like this plan with some complex comedy trying to make fun of and troll Steve-O. It was just them doing what they always do. For example, you could argue that Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino have a very similar dynamic. And for example, we covered their episode with Bobby Althoff. And now looking back, Steve-O was essentially the Bobby Althoff for the Adam Friedland show. And the whole time, it was very clear that he was not interested in the conversation unless it was about something that he was promoting, like the comedy special. And the whole time, he was hitting this fume thing or whatever he was smoking really hard, which is a sponsor. And I'm not playing because for like a whole 20 minutes, Steve-O was hitting that thing hard into the microphone until they finally asked him about it. And then he went on a long and passionate sales pitch about the product, which was actually insane. And even though Steve-O did have Adam Friedland on the show last month to clear things up or apologize, that didn't happen. And in my opinion, it only made things worse.
What is that? That's a bad answer? What am I good
not a
at?
bad
Nothing. I'm incredibly mediocre as a person.
I think maybe off camera. What do you like?
Kind of like this.
Are you?
Yeah. What do you think? What am I doing right now? Am I doing like Groucho Marx shtick?
No. I feel like if I was doing
This is
cocaine with
crazy.
you and like we were in a hotel room doing cocaine, like I would last
I would
9
suck
minutes
your-
and I would fucking walk out from a panic attack.
Why?
I don't know.
Anti-Semitism. This is an anti-Semitic program.
I'm
This is
just like, what is happening right now?
I'm here. This is. You know, I'm not afraid of the anti-Semitic. They've come for me before, and I've said to them, "Listen, you know, I've looked the devil in the face."
What do you
know?
say?
That's good TV.
I went to a therapist one time and he was like, "How
Gay.
depressed are you?" And I was
Just
like,
kidding.
"Well, I'm on season 8 of Cheers in the last 7 days." And he's like, "Oh my God, that's that bad."
Is that?
I mean, it's not good.
You could just like Cheers.
No, you don't watch 8 seasons of Cheers in like 7 days.
That doesn't seem to me like it has any correlation to depression.
I think that sounded like a lie. That sounded like a lie.
Yeah,
Your therapist as a professional would never be like,
I think we have the same therapist.
you stink for watching a great
okay,
show.
So we're off to a terrible start.
Why? Every time we podcast together. No, every time I think his father was lost at sea.
That's not true.
I swear to God. Look it up.
He's looking it up right now.
Why would I talk? I would never lie
I think
about.
you're talking about like
Mr. Fraser Crane. What are you talking about?
There's videos of
the
like
man is an
Keanu Reeves with
institution.
the same story, like sitting on a park bench, and there's memes of like his story life.
His two teenage half-brothers died in a scuba diving accident.
Sorry, Lost at Sea. I think that's Lost at Sea.
It was the if there was one interview, podcast, almost anything that I could go back and not do.
Really?
It would be.
It was that bad?
Friedland show.
It sounds a little anti-Semitic, a little bit, no? With everything going on in the world, I don't know if you want to be want to be so hateful. It's more.
It was.
And what's really funny is that someone actually commented this on that podcast episode, and I actually agree because that episode did feel more like an ambush instead of a fun conversation, because from the beginning, it almost felt like if the whole plan was to try and make Adam admit that he was doing a bit and he was playing a character so that it could fit Steve-O's narrative that he wasn't rude and it was him not getting the joke. And then the co-host, one of the co-hosts, he was very aggressive and asking questions like if he was trying to catch Adam telling a lie. It was just very weird, and it didn't go their way, and instead Adam did the same thing on their own show. Now, to be fair to Steve-O, it definitely doesn't help that Adam was actually late, because that is really bad. I mean, it's definitely rude. But what's really interesting is how much they were overthinking it, because they actually thought that he was doing it on purpose as a power move, which is it's an interesting perspective.
He blew it, and that makes me mad. And all of this going on while we're waiting for you to show up, and we had you scheduled at 6.
I thought 6:30. I swear to God, I apologize.
Yeah. So
do you think that was like a big, like the power broker kind of art of the deal kind of move?
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that
really
we
think that you accidentally think I'm like some sort of satanic force.
No.
You know,
I don't think that you're a satanic force. I think.
Now, keep in mind that Steve-O did say that Danny Brown hadn't accepted his invitation to the podcast, which now thinking about it, it does make sense if Danny Brown didn't want to go on the show, because if it went anything like the Adam Friedland episode, I mean, it wouldn't make any sense. Like it doesn't make a difference, and it's clear that Steve-O doesn't really care about, making it right or whatever. Because, for example, on that podcast episode with Adam, which was supposed to be about clearing things up, Steve-O actually disrespected him again by straight up pulling a Steiny and texting in front of him and just ignoring everything that he was saying. It was actually wild.
I mean, that's maybe why. Because you can't kill a man who's already dead, Stephen. Like, that's maybe why I'm coming across this way. But I've been through hell and back. Now you're texting?
Are you texting?
You're being bad. You're being bad. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's your show. Thanks for inviting me, but you're being bad. I was just telling you about my struggles with cyberbullying, and you're texting your slave that you pay $3 an hour to that you're mad at. You're mad at your boy. Your boy.
I actually pay him very well.
How much do you pay?
If you want to know, I pay him $100 an hour.
So he makes like $200. What does he have to do? Press a button or something?
Nah, he's actually insanely
He's incredible.
talented.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
He's
that was
insanely
in bad
talented.
taste.
I'm
That was
done
in
with
bad
it. It
taste with the
was.
$100. I mean, to pay someone so little is in bad taste also. But no, for me, the joke was that I was like the nebbish, like kind of the schmuck from Cumtown.
And by the way, I guess you could try and argue that what Steve-O did was not disrespectful, texting in the middle of the podcast and then completely ignoring Adam. And I would disagree. And if anything, to me, that is a perfect example of Steve-O saying one thing and then doing the complete opposite. Because once again, according to Steve-O, that episode was supposed to be him clearing things up with Adam's fan base. And instead, again, that episode felt like an ambush. Steve-O was texting in the middle of the podcast. And funny enough, for that episode, Steve-O actually did some research and looked up Adam's Wikipedia. And the whole time he just kept bringing up basically every single controversy that Adam had gone through, which is, it's a little bit weird.
And it's funny, any slam piece I've ever gotten on me most of them, I've only seen the Crackamico one, and then I saw the title to one and started watching it. I went, this isn't good for me.
Yeah.
But the title of the one that I did see, when I started watching it, it was a little inaccurate. So I went, it didn't bother me a ton. It did bother me. It stuck in my head, but it didn't bother me a ton. And anytime anything's kind of reared its head, it never really bothers me because a lot of them are a little inaccurate. It's when they're accurate that it connects with you. And that's what's so crazy is sometimes they're so good at being accurate. Sometimes they're like, man, you guys reading my diary? Like, what the
Yeah.
But you also got to take it in that, take it with a little love, and that it's almost like Sports Center. Comedy's gotten so big that there are people making a living, making a good living doing videos about comics. And I'd be honest with you, usually it's fair game on all comics. They don't have sides. They go after everyone. And so, think about how much hate Rogan's gotten.
Everybody gets hate. If you're online. I mean, it's open game.
Have you ever seen a single negative thing said about Theo?
Well, no, but I don't look. Theo happened in my career later.
Bobby Lee and Theo, I believe, are the two most beloved.
I don't search them out, so I don't know. And by the way, I don't look for, like, if I see something negative, it's not. I had to change my algorithm when at a certain point I had to say, like, all that's coming up is comedy stuff in my thing, and I don't want that. So I changed my algorithm to History Channel stuff and on YouTube, History Channel stuff, Navy SEALs training, boat disaster videos. So, like, that's all I get. So I wouldn't see it. But I'm certain there has to be. If there isn't, maybe, I don't know. If there isn't now, there will be.
Yeah.
The thing with a comic, this is like the crazy thing that I started noticing. Once you can see someone do an impression of that comic, that's the fucking canary in the mine.
And look, for Steve-O to say that neither Bobby Lee or Theo Von get any hates is absolutely wild. And again, prove that he doesn't really care about anyone else but himself, because it's very easy to find that, yes, both Theo and Bobby Lee get a lot of hates, more specifically Bobby Lee, who recently went through a cancellation attempt. But it is interesting that he brings up Theo Von and Bobby Lee. It almost feels like when someone gets caught or exposed and their first answer is to be like, well, what about them? And then just points towards other people. And the choice of picking Theo Von and Bobby Lee is interesting because when it comes to Bobby Lee and Theo Von, even though they have been taking advantage of the Rogan sphere and became massively successful, they still haven't changed that much, and they're still committed to their podcasts and their bits and their jokes and all that stuff. And also another big difference is that when someone like Theo Von or Bobby Lee want to make fun of another comedian or take shots at someone, they do it with jokes. Like they try to make it funny or make a joke about it. Whereas someone like Steve-O, instead of trying to make a joke, he just makes a comment, and it almost seems like it actually comes from a bad place. Like most recently on the episode with Bert Kreischer, where he straight up just took shots at Andrew Schulz for no reason.
I go, wow, I didn't know he put that much thought into it after the fact. I'm glad that didn't happen. This is a great conversation.
Yeah, man. I'm really proud of my last special that I promoted on your podcast.
You're amazing, dude. You're amazing.
I'm really proud of it, man. And I did my effort way back then to try to get the money back for it with the paywall. I respected the people who paid for it, like by not just turning around and giving it for free right away. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's now completely for free at the top of steveo.com. And
I think still I've seen people do that where they pay for it and then they release it on YouTube. Dude, the goal is the diehards. I don't have a problem paying for something to help someone that I love. So it's the definition of a fan.
Yeah.
And fans can be anything. I buy tickets to the Rams game, but they play it on the TV. I don't begrudge the Rams for charging me. I'm a fan. I'm supporting them, or the Bucks. I'm a fan of a lot of shit. I'm a fan of Goose. When they release anything, I buy it first day of. Now, I could very easily text them and go, can I get a free one? And when they release it on Nugs, their live shows, I don't begrudge that. Fans are cool supporting you doing what you're doing, and they also want to bring more people to you. And so when you release it, I don't think there shouldn't be one person going, oh, I got f***ed. You didn't get f***ed. You love the guy. You helped him do the thing you love, and you're letting him share it with more people.
And by the way, I'm not trying to defend Andrew Schulz. And in fact, we just did a very long video going over how I didn't like his new material and how I felt a little bit like a bait and switch or false advertisement, similar to the infamous comedy special. However, in both cases, technically, he did say at some point in a podcast episode that well, when it comes to the infamous special, he did say that at some point it would be uploaded to either YouTube or somewhere else, and that it wouldn't just be deleted after the 2 weeks that it was up on his website.
It is what it is. We understand everything exists on the internet. And if you don't know how to figure out one of them pirating sites, I'm sure one day in the future I'll have it up on my YouTube channel. You can wait for that. I just want to say thank you guys so much for your interest. Thank you guys so much for your support.
But the point is that I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure that Steve-O was trying to take shots at Andrew Schulz, because that is the narrative that Andrew Schulz pretty much lied to everyone, told them to buy the comedy special, and then quickly released it on YouTube, which that's not exactly what happened. But I can understand why it feels that way, because to be fair, if Andrew Schulz had made it clear that it would be up on YouTube eventually, that would have been a whole different deal.
Do you ever get hate in like real life when you're walking to the store like fuck you, or is it all generally like, yeah dude, like your channel?
Everyone in person's always been super sweet. I've never had anyone do that, but now maybe they will since I've called attention to it.
Yeah, I think there's something interesting. It's like
throw a tomato at me going to Walmart or something.
No, but I think it's interesting. Like you're saying you get a lot of hate, but like every 100% of the reactions you get in real life are like, dude, I love you. Yeah. Well, unless you're like a piece of shit, legit, like O.J. Simpson, like, hi murderer, fuck you. Like once you hit that stage, like you're probably a bad guy. But like if you're just getting hate on comments on YouTube, it's like if it happens in real life, like you're probably an asshole. But if it happens, like if it doesn't happen,
I mean, and to what Scott was saying, no, like everyone's gonna be super nice to your face, and their asses are gonna be nice to your face and then turn around and in the anonymity and the safety of their
yeah. But what I'm saying is like Alex Jones, like people are following him, like giving him the finger, or like
that I get.
Like, but that's because you're a nice you're a good person. The intentions are good, so nobody's gonna say that to your face. But like so you're safe there. If they started doing that to you in public when we're out like getting at Wawa's, and they're like, I'd be like, oh dude, like maybe you're kind of a dickhead. But like it's never happened one time. It's always like, oh dude, I'm a huge fan.
That's a really good point, though. I feel like there's definitely this threshold where, like, if you are a big enough douchebag, you will have people that aren't afraid to say it to your face. Like,
yeah.
And also, I feel like if you have to make these wild arguments to try and explain why you're not a bad person, that's not a good place to be in. And when it comes to the whole thing about, you won't say it to my face, I always found that argument so cringe because, for example, when it comes to feedback on the internet, whether it's good or bad, people have an incentive to leave comments because they either get a reaction or they can start a discussion on the comment section. However, when you're talking about in real life, why would anyone spend their time and energy going up to someone that's not really that big or famous and tell them that they don't like what they do? It doesn't make any sense unless, of course, you're live streaming or recording it and you can benefit from that video or that content. And also, unless they're talking about physically harming someone, which could happen, like why wouldn't someone say it to their face? Like, I don't understand what the danger is. If anything, can you imagine how sensitive they are with online comments? Now, how would they react to someone in person coming up to them and telling them to their face what they don't like about them? Would they actually have a conversation about it while it's being recorded, or would they snap and make it a huge deal? And once again, at the end of the day, I don't believe Steve-O is a bad person or has bad intentions from what I've seen. And even though he's not dealing with the hate or the negative criticism in the best way possible, I don't believe he will ever get to what Brendan Schaub got to, simply because even if you don't like what he does, if you take a look at his last multimedia comedy special, The Bucket List, which he was promoting for the past 2 years, it actually does deliver. I mean, I didn't watch all of it. I skipped through it, but I mean, it looks pretty crazy. And for sure, that content couldn't be anywhere else but his own website. And also, to be fair, even though it does seem like Steve-O is driven by the attention and the views and all that stuff, it doesn't seem like he's chasing the money or attracted to material things, at least not from what I can see on the podcast. However, in my opinion, I feel like he should stop listening to his co-host and rethink the way that he's approaching the hate and the negative criticism. For example, one advice that I could give that doesn't really matter because he's rich and I'm not, is that if you want to respond to someone, type it out, lay out your argument, and right before sending send or sending okay or hitting okay, just delete all of it and back out of the page, because it kind of feels like you did it because you actually did write it out, but you don't send it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video. But that is all we have for today. See ya.